been dealt with very, very wisely. We've been dealt very, very wisely. All right? The nations and the kingdoms of this earth has been dealing with the children of Israel very, very wisely. And because they're dealing with us very, very wisely, they have not let us know certain things that we need to know of what they're doing. Our conditions, how we're living, the financial aspect, the religious aspect, all of these aspects that we live under has been sabotaged or put in a place or in a way that we truly don't understand the bigger picture of it, because they have dealt with us very, very wisely. Exodus chapter 1, verse 10. What did it say?
Come on, let us deal wisely with them.
So, right back here in Exodus, this was a Pharaoh who came after Joseph and all of those people had went off the scene, and the children of Israel began to multiply expeditiously. They began to just multiply. They began to become mighty in Egypt. And this Pharaoh saw what the children of Israel, by the multiplying, were capable of doing. And he said, come on, look around, y'all, Egypt. Look at these Hebrews. Let's deal with them wisely. Why? Come on.
Lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when they're fallen out of any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
So this is what he said. Hey, Shabbat Shalom, brother. We got Prince of them in the house. Bless you, man. Look like it was hard to get you back in town, man. Shalom, shalom. Oh, priest. Priest Benai, right? HaKohen Benai.
Prince Benai.
Prince Benai. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We thank you. We welcome you. Glad to see you back. Come on, in Numbers chapter 22.
He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to Bethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying,
What did he say?
Behold, there's people that come out from Egypt.
So I want y'all to know that we are already on the map. All right? People already know who the Hebrews and who the Israelites are. All right? And this is way back in Numbers, but the same history has a way of doing what? Repeating itself, don't it? All right? So these are people already, this already happened in Egypt back then, but it's happening to us today, because this is a second type of Egypt for us. And he says, behold, there is a people coming out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me to hinder these people. Come on.
For I wot that he whom thou blessed is blessed, and he whom thou curses is cursed.
So in other words, he said, if you curse these people, they'll be cursed. So I want you to do that for me. And what happened?
And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam and spake unto him in the words of Balaam.
So in other words, this was a situation where they went to go pay some this so-called prophet, this divinator, some money to curse the children of Israel. But as they begin to truly realize and know, they said, these people, we can't curse them because the Father has already blessed them. Yeah. And he couldn't go no further than the blessings of Yah. So every time he went to try to put his mouth on the children of Israel to curse them, blessings came out. Ain't that something else? Yeah. He turned things around, didn't he? Yes. Psalms 83 and 4. What did it say?
They make plans in secret against your people.
They make plans. See, sabotage deals with this whole idea of them making plans in secret against your people. Come on.
And plot together against those who treasure.
So they plot together those who are the treasure. Who is the real treasure? Are the Israelites. Come on.
They say, let's wipe out their nation so that the name of Israel will no longer be remembered.
Are y'all hearing this?
Yeah.
So the nations are the enemies of Yah. They're planning in back rooms and think tanks. And guess what? You didn't get the invitation to come. They didn't invite you to it, but you better believe they're talking about you behind closed doors. 2 Maccabees chapter 13, verse 9.
Now the king came with barbarians and a haughty mind to do far worse to the Jews than had been done in his father's time.
So in the time of the Greeks, the same type of thing is happening. They wanted to do something even more worse than their fathers has done to our people. And I'm showing you that these nations are dealing wisely with us. Over here in the time of the Romans, come on.
And Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently, that what time the star appeared.
So in other words, Herod, y'all remember the story? There was the wise men who saw the star of Yeshua being born, and they came to find out where he was. Well, when they came to find out where he was, Herod wanted to kill him. So he spoke to the wise men privately. It wasn't out in the open. It was a secret meeting that he had. And he said, when you find, the star and where this child is, come back so I can worship him too. But we know he didn't want to do that, right? He wanted to do something else because the Father had to warn them. What is it over here?
And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way.
So they was warned by the Father, listen, don't tell him where no child is. Don't tell him nothing about it because he really wants to kill this servant of Yah, opposed to worshiping him and treating him nice and kind. Y'all hearing that?
Yes.
In Acts chapter 7, this is after Yeshua had ascended and went back to his place. He was off the scene. These are the apostles now. In Acts chapter 7, verse 19, come on.
He changed their minds so that they hated his people, and they dealt treacherously with his servants. So
in every time in history, there's always been people who deal treacherously with his servants.
Yes.
Y'all hearing that?
Yes.
Psalms 83:3, what it say?
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Y'all remember that one, don't you? They taken crafty counsel against thy people, come on.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Let's come and cut them off from being a nation. Let them not even think in the terms of nation. Let them think in terms of being individuals. Me, myself, and I. Take away from them we, us, our. Are y'all hearing this?
Yes.
Let's put me, myself, and I in their mind and in their heart and in their spirit, where they're only thinking about themselves and not thinking about the entire group. Y'all hearing this?
Yes.
Not thinking about themselves as being a nation. Let's cut them off from having that kind of mentality. Come on.
And that the name of Israel may be no longer remembered.
Don't even have them think about they were ever being called Israel. Have them in their mind everything else but being called Israel. Let them think about them being savages. Let them think about in their minds that they are nobodies, but don't have them, not even for one time, think that they are Israel. Y'all hearing that?
Yes.
And look what the book says.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
They are all consenting. They have all voted aye. They're all saying, okay, yeah, let's do this. You gonna do it, we gonna do it, we're all gonna do this together. They're all together with one consent, and they are what? Confederate against thee. They are united against Israelites' destruction. Now, how does that make you feel?
Good.
Don't feel too good, do it?
No.
Because it seems like we up against something big, don't we? All right? Hallelujah. We want to talk a little bit about National Security Council, this Memorandum 46. Memorandum 46. And I'm going to show you how even in our modern time, the same treachery, the same deception is still here in modern times, trying to get the children of Israel, the people of Yah, the chosen people, to stop being the chosen people and to act and be like somebody else. So this is something that's well known, well documented. I printed out a few copies of it, but I left them at home. So I'll have them next week. But you can definitely go on the internet and look up the National Security Council Memorandum 46. Memorandum 46. Are y'all ready to hear what this is?
Yes.
This is all based on your destruction. Memorandum 46 is a government document which outlines how to keep American Africans, which we know are Israelites, and the continent African politically and economically separated. want the people over here to connect with the people over there. And they wrote a memorandum, 46, to say we have to keep these two groups separated. Y'all walking with me?
Okay.
All U.S. government policies in regards to the Africans who migrated to America. Now, you know good and well, we didn't migrate to America, though.
No.
So even in their documents, you get on the internet, they got it all twisted around, all right? All the Africans who came in captivity on ships to America follow the divide and conquer strategy of the Memo 46. Divide and conquer. Everybody say divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer.
March 17, 1978, this is under, I think Jimmy Carter was the president. Presidential Review Memorandum. This went out to the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, and the Director of the Central Intelligence. This memorandum, 46. And the subject was Black Africans and the U.S. Black Movement. Ooh, are y'all hearing this?
Yes.
People are talking about you in secret meetings, writing stuff and strategizing while you watching the basketball game. And you yell and scream, wow, do that, Kobe, do that, Michael, come out. They in meetings trying to keep you dumb, docile, demoralized, and demonized. How can we keep them in that kind of state? Y'all hearing this?
Yeah.
While you doing all the stuff you doing, fighting, arguing, being divided, arguing over things that ain't got nothing to do with nothing,
Yes.
there's a think tank thinking about how to keep you divided, how to keep you separated so that you won't gain anything socially or economically.
Yes.
So now we're hitting home now, right? I'm coming right down. Everybody want to know about their finances, right? Everybody want to try to make more what? More.
Money.
So they got a think tank dealing with this whole, they have a memo out that went to all of the secretaries and all these people, and they said, look here, we have to stop Black Africans, which are Hebrews and Israelites, and the U.S. Black Movement. We don't want Africans on the continent of Africa and the ones who came over through slavery ever to connect. Because if they ever connect, something's going to happen. And we got to keep them separated and keep them discouraged and keep them apart. The president has directed that a comprehensive review be made of the current developments in Black Africa from the point of view of their possible impact on the Black movement in the United States of America. Are y'all hearing this?
Just like that.
They're looking at this thing and saying, we need to look at this thing a little closer, because if these leaders over here in the land of Africa ever get hooked up with some of the leaders over here in the United States that's talking radical, talking all this stuff, then we're going to have a problem on our hand. And we need to go review some of the things to make sure that they are separated. The review should consider, these are the things that they were considering when they were in their think tank, and the things that they should consider. Number one was a long-term tendency of social and political developments and the degree to which they are consist with or contradict the U.S. interest. In other words, they wanted to see what did these folks have that was consistent with or that was contradictory to the United States interests. So we're going to go to Africa and see what they are in agreement with the United States with, and we're going to see what they're not in agreement with, and then we're going to listen to the groups over in America that's rising up and see what they're in agreement with the United States with and what they're not in agreement with. Y'all following this?
Yes.
And please jump in at any time. The review should consider proposals for durable contacts between radical African leaders and leftist leaders of the U.S. Black community. They called them leftists because they ain't going right. They got to be going left if they ain't going right. In other words, the right way is only do what you're told.
Right.
And just be a good boy for massa. Y'all hearing that?
Yes.
All right? So they don't want the connection to be made. And then thirdly, the appropriate steps. They said appropriate steps from their point of view, appropriate steps to be taken inside and outside of the country in order to inhibit, which means to prevent or to constrain or to stop any pressure by radical African leaders and organizations on the U.S. black community for the latter to exert influence on the policies of the administration towards Africa. They don't want them to connect, because if they ever connect, if they ever get unified on something, then it's not going to be in the best interest for the United States. Objectives of our policy towards black Americans. This is the objectives that they have set up in this Memorandum 46. It says it's to prevent social upheavals which could radically change the political situation throughout the area. The success or failure of our policies in the region depends on the solutions, international and internal issues whose importance of the United States is on the increase.
That's right.
These are some of the recommendations. And you can see the whole thing on the internet. Just go on the internet and you can see the whole memorandum. Specific steps should be taken with the help of the appropriate government agencies to inhibit, which means stop, constrain, or prevent coordinated activities of the black movement in the United States. They want to stop. They don't want us to start stepping together in the name of love, right? They don't want us to do that. They don't want us to get coordinated with one another, okay? They say we want to design specific steps that should be taken. Are y'all hearing this?
Yeah.
They want to prevent. Now you understand why we ain't unified?
Yeah.
We ain't unified because we have been sabotaged. There's a force that's working against us not to be unified.
Yeah.
That's right.
The second recommendation, special clandestine operations. So because of that, because they don't want us to be unified, we got to set up these special operations that should be launched by the CIA to generate what? Mistrust and hostility in America.
That's right.
So that's the Willie Lynch letter all over again. Remember when we learned about that a few weeks ago? We talked about the Willie Lynch letter. We talked about, man, if I could just get them to distrust each other, they'll keep themselves in slavery for another 300 years. Because we'd already been here 100 years. So 3 plus 1 equals what? 400 years. And that goes right with the prophecy that we talked about with Abraham in Genesis chapter 15 there. Y'all understand? So he said certain operations should be created to generate mistrust and hostility in America and world opinion against joint activities of the two forces. This is why the whole world don't like you. Because they have propaganda set up all over the world to make you look like bad, bad people. And nobody should ever connect with you because one of them African Americans, them Hebrews, them Israelites over in America, they don't got no culture, no history, no heritage, no language no more. Boy, they have you, boy, with your hat backwards and your pants sagging down to your behind if you hook up with them. Are y'all hearing this?
Yes.
So, and it says they're doing this to cause division among black African radical national groups and their leaders. Guess what they call Hebrew Israelites now? We are a radical national group. That's what they say. They claiming that we are a religion.
Yeah.
And these are their words that they're defining for us because they're seeing what's happening and they're seeing people are waking. Man, that makes sense. See, in the scriptures, it already said that the Father would give us a wisdom that could not be that could not be resisted by the world. So we're bringing out facts and truth and artifacts, and people are going places and looking and saying, oh, no, these people are black. There's been a trick going on. Travel is happening, and people are starting to wake up to the knowledge of who they are. And they want to make sure that these two sides, these two forces, will never connect. Are y'all walking with me?
Yes.
Okay, number 3, recommendations. U.S. embassies to black African countries, especially interest in Southern Africa, must be highly circumspect in view of the activities of certain political circles and influential individuals opposing the objectives and methods of the U.S. policy towards South Africa. So they wanted to even have some things going on both sides so that everybody can stay in this distrust, divided. Everybody don't know who to trust and who to talk to. And this all has to do with the interest of the U.S. Then it goes on to say, it must be kept in mind that the failure of the U.S. strategy in South Africa would adversely affect America standing throughout the world. In addition, this would mean a significant diminution of U.S. influence in Africa and the emergence of new difficulties in our internal situations due to worsening economic prospects. In other words, they don't want another thing that happened when Dr. King died, when Malcolm and all them, they started getting people together. The Marcus Garveys and all these people who rose up in the 60s to say, hey, we need to do something different. They say they don't want that to start happening again. And the FBI should mount, so this is one of their solutions. This is something that they're recommending, that the FBI should mount surveillance operations against black African representatives and collect sensitive information on those, especially at the UN, who oppose U.S. policies towards South Africa. Are y'all hearing what's happening?
Absolutely.
So they're going to collect sensitive information, and then if the information they don't get is good enough, then they'll just lie and make up stuff. Yeah, we heard this leader over here slept with your wife. He did? Yeah, we got some pictures. And hey, you know they know how to make pictures up, make everything go. Whatever to keep hostility, keep animosity going. Because they don't want us to be unified. So we have to be wise. We have to understand the tactics of the enemy. The information should include facts on their links with leaders of the black movement in the United States, thus making possible at least partial neutralization of the adverse effects of their activity. They just want to neutralize it. Slow it down, stop it is the ultimate goal. But if they can slow it down, neutralize it, make it not effective, then they have done their job. So if the object for us, they don't want us to be unified. The same thing the Pharaoh said way back in Egypt. Right. Y'all see these jokers, boy, if they join with our army and with our enemy, they'll wipe us out. And in one of the parts of the memo, it talked about the Arabs and the Israelis, that whole conflict. And they brought that out. They said black folks may be sympathetic to the Arabs, and if they join with them, man, we're going to really have some problems on our hand. Are y'all hearing this?
Yes, sir.
Now, in Revelations 13 and 4, looking at all of this stuff that's mounting up and looking at all this stuff that's happening, this is what most of us feel like. Just read the part that's highlighted.
Who is like the beast? Who was able to make war with him?
See, that's how we feel. Well, they're going to get all these people, all these alphabet soup, different type of agencies on us. The CIA, the FBI, and all these other people, they're gathering all those people together to be on us. And we start feeling like, well, who is like the beast? Who can make war with him? Who can challenge his authority in the earth? That's what they want you to have in the back of your mind. So that you will never be able to do something. You will stay in their system and continue on building and creating and sustaining their world. When we have a world of our own that we need to be building and developing. Are y'all hearing that?
Yes, sir.
Look at Daniel 2 and 32. Let's go over this. Make sure we got this.
This image head was fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part iron and part clay. Thou sayest, thou sawest, till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
So Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he saw an image. And Daniel is giving him what he saw in his dream. Okay? And he's giving it to him. Come on.
Then was the iron and the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together. It became like the shadow of the summer threshing floors.
So he saw this image, and the image was part gold. Part of the image was part silver. Part of the image was brass, and part of it was clay and iron. Okay? And this is what he saw. But then he saw this stone that struck the image, and this image struck the gold, the silver, the brass, and the iron, and the clay, and it broke into pieces altogether. And those pieces of the gold, the silver, the brass, the clay, and the iron, they were just like chaff. It was like leaves blowing in the wind. That's what he saw when this stone that was cut out of a mountain without any man's hand struck the image. Y'all hearing this? All right? So, he's going to let you know what these different gold, silver, and brass, and iron represent. They represent kingdoms. Everybody say kingdoms.
Kingdoms.
Come on, let's finish talking about the stone that was cut out. Once it hits this image, this is what is going. This is the other part that's going to happen.
And the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth.
So what he's telling you and showing you is that all of these kingdoms are going to be set up at different times in history. And the different kingdoms, the gold represented the Babylonian kingdom. The silver represented the Persian, the Medes kingdom. Then you got on down to the brass, and then the Greeks kingdom, then the Romans kingdom. Now we're all the way down into the Americans kingdom. What do you want to call it? UK, the European domain. All right, and they are the part with the iron and clay. Iron and clay mixed together. Okay. Now watch this. Again, who is like the beast? So you see the image of the beast. You say, man, who is like the beast? And who will be able to make war with something like that? Because this system has been going for a very, very, very long time. Somebody say, who can make war with the beast?
Who can make war with the beast?
Let's find out who can make war with the beast. Daniel 2:38. What did he say?
And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, the fowl of the heaven have he given into thine hand, and have made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold.
So he told Nebuchadnezzar, you are this head of gold. Come on.
After thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee.
So another kingdom, after your kingdom is going off the scene, another kingdom is going to rise up that's going to be inferior to you, thus gold and then silver. Y'all see that? Inferiority, okay? And then what?
And another third kingdom of brass.
Another third kingdom of brass. Come
which
on.
shall bear rule over all the earth.
Which shall bear rule over all the earth. Okay? Come on.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdue all the things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
So that's what's been happening to us. We've been broken into pieces and we've been bruised. And we're scared to lift our head up to rise up to who the Father has called us to be. But again, who's going to make war with the beast? Who's going to fight against the Goliath that's out there talking about the children of Israel, making them being scared and making them be? It's the same thing, the same concept. Remember, Goliath tormented the children of Israel? He said, come on, send me a man to fight. Just one man to fight. And whoever wins against us, that means that kingdom will serve the other kingdom. So Goliath is standing over all of the kingdoms of the earth and saying, who gonna make war with me? Who gonna fight? Who's gonna have enough faith to fight against me? Are y'all hearing this? Yes. It's intimidating, ain't it? Yeah. All right? Come on.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of the potter's clay, and part of iron.
So I guess this giant, this beast, has a weak spot. Because now we see that the potter, a part of his feet and toes, are made of clay, and part of it's made of iron. Is iron and clay, do they stick together well?
No.
All right? So this giant, even though it looks ferocious, it got a weak spot. So that's what we need to be focusing on. Y'all hearing this? Come on.
And part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided.
The kingdom shall be divided. Come on.
But there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with very clay.
Yeah, as for much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the clay. So the clay and the iron is mixed together. It's letting you know that this kingdom is going to be divided at the end. Okay? Come on.
And as the toes of the feet were a part of iron and a part of clay, So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
Wait! Are y'all hearing this? The last kingdom on earth that he saw was partly strong and partly broken. Everybody say partly strong, partly broken. And this is the only time in history where we can rise up enough courage to do something. Because now this image is partly strong and it's partly broken. Are y'all hearing this? Come on, we almost finished.
And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron not mixed with clay.
So it's letting you know that the iron and clay is going to come apart. It's not going to be able to stay together. Y'all hearing this? Watch this.
And in the days of these kings shall the God...
And in the days of these kings, come on,
shall the God of heaven set up...
shall Yahweh of heaven, come on,
set up a kingdom.
he's going to set up a kingdom. Come on.
Which shall never be destroyed.
Which shall never be destroyed. That's a good place to shout. I thought y'all would be dancing. Saying something. He's going to set it in the midst of this kingdom being partly strong, he's all of a sudden, the Elohim of Israel, the one of heaven, he's going to set up a kingdom that shall not be destroyed. Because if you're dealing with power, you have to match power, equal power. Y'all hearing that? Yes. Somebody shout power. Power. Now you got to say power with power. Somebody shout power. Power. And the kingdom, come on.
Which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to another people.
And the kingdom shall not be left to other people. Come on.
But it shall break in pieces.
It shall break in pieces. Come on.
And consume all of these kingdoms.
And consume all of these other kingdoms. Come on.
And this shall stand forever.
And the kingdom that breaks and consumes all these other kingdoms is the kingdom that's going to stand forever. Because that's the same thing Goliath said with the children of Israel. He said, whoever wins, we'll be the servants to, it'll be the one ruling over everything. Are y'all hearing that?
Yes.
Now watch this. Who could that be? He's talking about y'all.
All right. Hallelujah.
Somebody say he's talking about me.
He's talking about me.
Y'all see yourself in that picture somewhere?
Yes.
If not, put yourself in that picture. He's talking about you.
Yes.
He's talking about you.
Yes.
But y'all like, oh, I don't know if you're talking about me, Pastor. I don't know. I'm telling you, he's talking about you because he's speaking of a certain time in history. But if don't nobody understand the signs of the times to see what's going on, then things will continue on as they always have. So he's talking about you. You are that stone. You are that stone that's been cut out of the mountain without hands. You are that kingdom that the Father is setting up in these last days that's going to break that iron and that clay and make that image fall down and bow before the Yahweh of Israel. Are y'all hearing this?
Yes.
Boy, I'm getting excited myself. I might go preach to the lights. Everybody say manifested destiny.
Manifested destiny.
Manifested destiny is a future event accepted as inevitable. I'm telling y'all, it's inevitable that we're going to be the ones that do it.
That's right. That's right.
Y'all don't believe it. I don't even, what y'all saying yes. Y'all ain't even really convinced.
Hallelujah.
Uniquely positioned. In other words, we are in a uniquely positioned time.
Yes.
We're not going to get this chance no more.
That's right.
It's got to be now and never. Manifested destiny. Come on, let's finish up with Daniel. We're closing out. Come on.
For as much as thou sawest the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great God hath made known to the king that shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and its interpretation thereof sure.
So right here, he says, thou sawest that the stone that was cut out of the mountain without hands. You saw that in your dream. And it says, and that it break in pieces the iron. It says the great Yah has made known to the king what shall come. No, what shall it may come to
What
pass.
shall?
Are y'all hearing this?
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable, ain't it? How many people know that when Yah speaks, his word can't return unto him void?
Right.
But it's going to accomplish everything that it was sent out to do. He said, what you see is going to come to pass. And he said, the dream and the vision that you had is certain.
Right.
And the interpretation that I'm giving you is sure. It's something that you can flat out put your trust on and rest everything on. Because it's sure.
How can they hear without a preacher?